You're listening to Accio Politics, a Harry Potter reread podcast focusing on politics in the wizarding world. I'm Adri, one of your hosts, and a recovering English major.
I'm Helene, your co-host and producer, and I'm also really tired today. I know we're not doing that anymore this season, but I just wanted to slip that in there.
Well, but you could have slipped it in our banter. Now what are we going to banter about,
I know,
Helene?
that was it. Banter over.
This is giving the listeners like a real look into our nitty-gritty like producing process.
I know. Accio Politics behind the scenes.
It is, Helene, another day, another week, another episode, and I am still looking down at my mortality and thinking, I am 11 years old, too old for Leonardo DiCaprio.
Oh, like that entire time I was like, where is she going with this? The beginning of the sentence, I had no idea where we were going to end up. But
you're welcome for that ride.
Yeah, it was a ride indeed. I'm so sorry to hear that you are officially too old for Leo. That's sad.
I have been for 11 years.
Well, okay.
And you know what else happens at 11 years? Hogwarts letters.
Hogwarts, yeah, you go to Hogwarts.
Yeah, and today we're going to be talking about Chapter 9 of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, and it's titled A Place to Hide.
Can't hide with Leo. It's too old for him.
Can't hide in that yacht.
Nope.
But if not in the yacht with Leo, tell me, Helene, what is this episode? What is this chapter about?
Guys, we're tired. we're okay. So this chapter, A Place to Hide, is the one where, after the protection of the wedding had been compromised, the trio flee to a Muggle town in London, attempting to hide from the Death Eaters, only to just be found immediately and attacked. They then decide to hide out at 12 Grimmauld Place and are greeted by magical protection set up to scare away Snape if he ever tried to get there. And then when they finally receive word that the Weasleys are safe, Harry ends up getting a vision of Voldemort forcing Draco to use the Cruciatus curse on a Death Eater that failed him.
Yay, all sunshines and butterflies in this chapter.
Heck yeah. I mean, that's going to be this book. This whole book is like depressing chapter after depressing chapter. You know, it's going to be, you know, we're in for a lot, this book.
Okay, I mean, if it were a color, would you say it was like a gray?
Yeah, except whenever I ever think of colors that are attached to the Harry Potter books, I just think of like the colors of the covers. Yeah,
of course.
So I'm like, oh, it's more of like a orangish yellow. You know,
fair.
I of course mean the American covers, the Mary Grand Pré. Of course, they're different in all the other countries.
Like every week, we gotta talk about the politics that we chose for this chapter. And I am flying blind here because I have not seen Helene's politic and she hasn't seen mine.
Yes, due to another gem of behind-the-scenes knowledge here, guys. Due to a slight lack of communication that we forgot to do this week, we are not working from the same script. So I have no idea what Adri's going to say for anything, and she has no idea what I'm going to say for anything. We'll see if this changes anything.
It's going to be a surprise all around.
Yeah, it really will be. Do you want to go first, or would you like me to go first? I guess I don't know what you have, so I can't really judge who should go first.
Well, if you want me to go first and, take that pressure off, I will.
Sure, why not?
Okay, so my politic is the politics of invisible labor. So in the 1980s, the sociologist Arlene Kaplan Daniels coined the term invisible work to describe forms of women's unpaid labor, like housework and volunteer work, that, while integral to the functioning of society, is not regarded as work and is culturally and economically devalued. And of course, here I am thinking of the work that one Miss Hermione Granger does in this chapter, the work that she did before the chapter to make sure that they could do a quick and clean getaway
Yeah.
from the burrow.
She really is the unsung hero of the series.
Does she get paid for this work? No, she doesn't.
Well, I
Is it
mean,
integral? I mean, none of them do
I was gonna
actually,
say none of them get paid.
but like, okay, so if we're thinking about like, okay, what do they need to be successful in this quest, right?
Right.
The planning and preparation that Hermione is doing behind the scenes at all times, culminating on like, hey, I had my stuff in the bag with me the entire time at the wedding, is crucial to them being safe.
Also the emotional labor, because like obviously she has got to have been like worrying sick about this the whole time. In order to think ahead like that, she had to have been like, worrying that there would something was going to be wrong at the wedding, go wrong, and they would have to make a quick escape. She didn't let any of that show. She didn't like ruin anybody's time. She held the emotion. She did the emotional labor of like making sure that everybody felt like safe until they weren't.
Yeah. And that is spoken like someone with anxiety.
Right. Yeah, worry. Can you tell that I worry about stuff?
No, but same. But, she does all this planning and all this work and like, complicated bits of magic, which is referenced in the chapter in passing. And, the boys get all the glory in the end, really. Right?
I mean, I was gonna say actually before you even said that, she does become the Minister of Magic. I
Okay.
feel like
Let's
she
talk
gets the
about
biggest payday, and she gets the highest form of power in the wizarding world, which she worked her ass off for, and she deserves more than anyone. But like, I'm just saying, like,
but it
I would
wasn't
say that's her
handed to
payoff.
her.
No, it
But it
wasn't
wasn't
handed to her. No,
handed. Yeah,
no.
it wasn't handed to her afterwards. It wasn't, like the boys get like more recognition, arguably, in my view, than Hermione ever does. And in the immediate aftermath and during, right? So like, because they get to do like the brave heroics, like the physical stuff. Meanwhile, she's doing the planning behind the scenes.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's definitely the thankless work for sure.
Yeah. Again, invisible labor
Yeah,
or invisible work. So that's why it's my politic.
yeah, no, that is definitely fitting.
What about yours?
Mine is the politics of refuge, or refugees, really, if we're talking about people. So, a refuge is the shelter or protection from danger or distress. Now, I'm going to say I did not put two and two together of the title of this episode being A Place to Hide until after I wrote my politic. I wrote my politic and I was like, oh, yeah, what's this chapter titled again? Oh, yeah, this politic is perfect. But basically, obviously, the entire chapter is about the trio trying to find a place to seek refuge, find a place where they can be safe and plan their next move away from the dangers of Voldemort and Death Eaters and being attacked. The wedding was a place of refuge that was compromised at the beginning of the chapter, or I guess at the end of the last chapter. And then the same with the cafe. They flee from the wedding, which was one place of refuge. Then they flee from the wedding to the cafe, get attacked, and then flee from the cafe to Grimmauld Place, which is, as of right now, their safe place where they can do what they need to do. Probably not for long, though. I mean, we all know that things eventually go wrong, but yeah, they have to pass multiple levels of security to even get into Grimmauld Place. But once they do, they finally found this refuge or protection. So they're basically refugees the whole chapter.
All right. I like that. So, that being said, I want to share my quote with you. And it's the following for invisible labor or invisible work. When you say you've got the cloak and clothes, said Harry, frowning at Hermione, who was carrying nothing except her small beaded handbag, in which she was now rummaging. Yes, they're here, said Hermione, and to Harry's and Ron's utter astonishment, she pulled out a pair of jeans, a sweatshirt, some maroon socks, and finally the silvery invisibility cloak. How the ruddy hell? Undetectable extension charms, said Hermione. Tricky, but I think I've done it okay. Anyway, I managed to fit everything we need here. She gave the fragile looking bag a little shake, and it echoed like a cargo hold as a number of heavy objects rolled around inside it. Oh, damn. That'll be the books, she said, peering into it. And I had them stacked, all stacked by subject. Oh, well. Harry, you'd better take the invisibility cloak. Ron, hurry up and change.
Can I just say,
Yeah.
before you get into it more, can I just say, when I read this part of the chapter, my mind immediately went to, how did she arrange the books? I guess maybe she did it beforehand. I just like imagined her going inside the bag and walking
Oh, same
around.
here. Same here. Same
I was
here.
like, how did she do this? How did she
I
like?
I imagine like a Newt Scamander like briefcase situation.
Yeah, yeah. I wish that they would have like that we would have learned a little bit more about that. But I guess with the books, like she could have made a pie, like a stack, and alphabetized them or like made them by subject, and then just lowered them into the bag. But it's like everything. Like, how would she have known where everything is in the bag, and how would she have like known where to
No,
like reach her
I think it's
hand in? You know,
yeah.
like
I think it honestly, I think this is one of those like plot points that didn't get like explored enough, and
yeah,
then the author
right.
decided to explore it with Newt Scamander's briefcase
Yeah, yeah. I just like
visually.
love the visual of her like stepping into the bag and like walking around and
Yeah,
organizing
just
things.
like does she have like like industrial grade shelves in there? Like
Yeah,
what's going on in there?
yeah. Anyway, yes, that was a perfect quote for invisible labor, I think.
Well, not well. It's kind of like the whole thing's like they're like, "What? You did what and you didn't tell us?" kind of thing,
Yeah,
Because she's been telling them, "I've been packing for weeks." Like the entire time running up to this chapter, she's kind of been telling them that she has been packing, but they haven't inquired as to the process or said, "Hey, can I help you with something?"
yeah,
Because
yeah,
it's assumed that the woman does the planning and does all the logistical stuff, even though we talk about men being the like logistical people or whatever in society because of the patriarchy. Honestly, the people doing the most logistical work are women.
I feel like men
um
are, yeah, definitely more run by their emotions than women are.
of course. We do all the planning. We do all, like I'm saying by we, I'm not saying like all women do this or they should, of course not.
Yeah,
But in general, it's expected for women to do like grocery shopping
yeah.
runs.
Well,
So that requires
yeah.
like planning and
I also
logistics. Like,
feel like they have a better grasp on the ability to compartmentalize. Like,
yeah,
you know, put everything else aside and be like, this needs to get done, so I'm gonna do it.
correct. And packing for the family or
Yeah,
making lists, making sure everything items checked off, all the things that allow a society to run, really.
yeah,
um and that work gets often miscategorized as less important than other work like schmoozing at work,
yeah.
which supposedly shows leadership qualities.
Mm,
and and that usually is what makes women not supposedly eligible for promotions, right? Because they get assigned the more quote unquote menial tasks, which are not menial at all. They just require the same amount of effort and thought as other ones, but life under the patriarchy.
yeah.
So what's your quote though?
Mine
Talk to me
is
about it.
mine is very short and sweet. It's the shortest quote I think I've ever chosen for an
Oh my
episode.
goodness.
It just is, we need a safe place to hide, said Ron. Give us time to think things through. That's the quote. um,
You
I mean,
literally just said the title of the chapter
yep. I mean, yeah,
and
exactly.
added a few words.
Yep, we need a safe place to hide. Yep, that. So like, I mean, like in reality, the whole chapter is about like refuge, like finding a safe place. But obviously, I could not just read the whole chapter. So I thought this one line from Ron was like, yeah, yeah, that's it. That's what it's about.
Well, you know what? Um, and this may not be your original intent, but I think it's okay if we kind of explore this a little bit. Is the idea that reading and books can be a safe place to hide for a lot of us.
Yeah, yeah. That wasn't my
Uh,
intention, but yeah.
no, I mean, yeah, but it just came, it brought
Yeah,
to mind that idea of fiction, books, invented worlds being like a refuge, something we seek in order to lose ourselves in them. And those can be our safe places when perhaps our homes have not been the safest places for us,
yeah,
or our society has not been the safest for us, because
yeah.
books can give us hope, and they can give us a level of being seen and being understood by the words, right? Because the way that reading works, at least for me, is that you get to envelop yourself in something that is not fully executed by someone else. Like, don't get me wrong, I love me some TV, but there's not a lot of things that I can kind of add on my own
Yeah,
to
no,
a
yeah,
TV show.
there's not less room for imagination with TV.
Correct. Like, I can't envelop myself in the same way as I would a book.
Yeah,
Um
totally.
and that agency that you have as a, I wouldn't say co-creator, but almost, right? Like a almost like a co-pilot in this reading journey. That's what makes reading such an individualistic thing, but that can also be communal, because you bring your own flavor of life experience to it and your imagination.
1,000,000%. Yeah. And I mean, obviously, I'm sure that this is probably where you're going with this, but obviously, Harry Potter specifically as a series has been a place of refuge for many people, most
Yeah,
notably, or not most notably, but like very obviously the queer community, which seems to be uh, betrayed by the author. But
yeah, betrayed, by the author of the series. And like that, I think that's why I think that's why it hurts so much, right? That a
yeah,
lot of us felt safe, and embraced in this series, and other series, because this is obviously not the only one that you and
right,
I have really gotten into. It's just the one that we did the podcast about. But to have the creator of the series say things that are so in contrast with what we felt the books did for us as children, teenagers, or even adults,
right,
it's a huge betrayal, right? Especially of those who embraced it as a way of saying being queer is okay, being trans is
right.
okay, like,
Yeah. In a way, she kind of took away our safe place. Yeah.
our safe place, and especially their safe place, right?
I meant our like everybody's, but
Yeah,
yeah,
no, yeah. And it just sucks, right? And
yeah.
that's why I think, I mean, we made the decision to continue the podcast, obviously. If not, we wouldn't be here.
And to be honest, it was like it's continually hard work to like do it. Honest, like not like
No, yeah.
emotion, not
Yeah,
like actual like
it's invisible work, right? Like,
yeah,
that's where our politics intersect. Yeah, it's hard emotional work. It would be also leaving it behind for me just became one of those
yeah.
things where, like, oh, that's just one more thing that I
Well,
gave up on.
we can get really meta
Personally.
here. We can get really
Okay,
meta here.
go
But I
ahead.
mean, this podcast has somewhat become a refuge for both of us.
Oh yeah,
Um,
for sure.
so like if we're gonna get meta, I mean like you've invested years and years of your life into this. And like I gained one of the closest friends I've had in you from this, and doing this with you every week is something that I can look forward to, something that I thoroughly enjoy. And so even though, the author's messing everything up, like yeah, taking away our safe place doesn't mean that we can't like make something good out of it or make our
Well,
own.
yeah, and like the thing about, I mean, I hope this is clear to the listeners, and if not, I am directly like, this is very meta, right? Like, I am
Yeah.
directly addressing this to the listener. I am not doing this podcast to like promote the author or promote anything that she is doing, right? Like,
Yeah.
I am not here for it. If you could find the books online on PDF, do it. If like, I do not want that person to get a single cent more from our community. Period. Go to Etsy, get something made if you want some like merch, right? Like that's legitimately how I feel about it. Um, I'm doing this more as a like this is a text that is interesting to me and to a lot of people, obviously, and I want to still like look at the politics of it all, right? Like I just didn't
Yeah.
want to switch texts in the middle of of dissecting the
Yeah,
series.
you wanted to see it through. I think it's
Yeah,
totally, like, understandable to wanna see it through.
because as someone with ADHD, I start a lot of projects that I don't get to finish, right? No, I'm like being completely serious.
No,
I
I
know it's
know.
funny,
I know, I
but
know.
like I start a lot of things that I don't get to finish. So to like say like, no, I saw this one thing through, like I'm like, okay, it's a commitment that I made.
Yeah.
It sucks that this was the commitment that I made.
Hey,
Because of the author,
but
but
we
not
like
because of you or the listeners.
right, but we can make, something good from it, and we can do our what we can do our part to try and, like, put some good back into the world after
God, I hope so.
so
And
much.
that
Yeah.
being said, the character that was really obviously important to me in Invisible Labor and Invisible Work was Hermione. Although Ron and Harry get honorable mentions, as do the entirety of the Order of the Phoenix. But Hermione, my God, this
Yeah.
woman.
So, surprisingly, I was reading through my character and what I put for why I put them down in my notes, and so here I'll just read you what I wrote because you'll understand. Hermione, because she has all of these contingency plans and was the most prepared of the group, doing her best to ensure their safety as they seek refuge. So basically,
Oh.
I wrote Hermione because of her invisible labor that she did to help them and like be safe while they like searched for shelter and refuge.
Look at how politics merged perfectly.
Yeah, I was reading that. I was like, oh, that's exactly what she was saying.
See, guys, it even happens when we are not even looking at the same document.
Yeah, I swear, guys, we actually do share a brain. It's not made up. We don't. It's for real.
Oh, well, Helene, do you want to go ahead and talk about how you see the politics of invisible labor in the series? Or I can start with Refuge.
Let's have you start because yours is not as obvious. So let me think.
All right. So, obviously, other than like what we just talked about, the meta-ness of Refuge through reading, I think that Harry has always wanted, and this is very clear, a place to feel safe, a place to be himself. And he finds that in the wizarding world. Does
Yeah.
that come with caveats? Of course it does, because now he's a celebrity and everyone's looking at him.
Right. Yeah.
So his refuge is not as much of a refuge sometimes as he would like it to be. But he also finds refuge in Ron's family, and that also becomes his like chosen family
Yeah.
with like Molly as a mother figure, Arthur as a father figure. Then, Sirius, we have Sirius Black, we've got Lupin. So he gets like to be in like this little band of misfits, right? In his eyes and in
Right.
Muggle society's eyes, right? That he feels like he finally belongs where he's not the weird one. He's the
Yeah.
chosen one, but he's not the weird one.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. I like that. I thought of one for invisible labor. I would have to say Lily because literally without I mean, like obviously people acknowledge her sacrifice and what she did for Harry and all of that, but I feel like it's kind of overlooked the fact that literally Voldemort would not have been able to be defeated
Without Lily.
without Lily. So like,
Yeah, it wasn't James, it was Lily.
yeah, and her contributions plural really are kind of just brushed aside and Harry, is the one that kind of gets all the attention for that. right?
Yeah, because her invisible labor, the fruits of that labor reside within him,
Yeah. Yeah.
literally in his blood.
Yeah. So shout out to pour one out for my girl Lily.
But I think a lot of the women in the series have a lot of like invisible labor that we can point out. Like Molly Weasley obviously
Yeah.
does a ton of invisible labor, even for the Order of the Phoenix.
Yeah.
Um,
McGonagall probably, you know.
ugh, McGonagall has to like mold the minds of young witches and wizards, plus be their emotional support as the head of the house.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Luna, I'm sure does lots. I mean, I can't think of any off the top of my head right now, but I'm positive that she does.
She brings comic relief to us all, and also just whimsy that we need to keep our minds open because we can't all be like Hermione, right?
Yeah.
I just all this like invisible labor of women being the emotional support of men and society. We salute you.
Yeah.
We know you're out there.
Yeah.
I know it couldn't be me. Like I could not be a therapist.
I
Like,
almost was.
could you imagine me as a therapist be like, "Oh, no, 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 but let's, circle back and, like, bring it back to me. Like, this is how I think of this."
Dude, that is not you.
I see myself that way.
Well, it's a warped perception.
Alright, let's talk about how this is a warped perception for 30 minutes. No, just kidding. Alright. But what I never kid about is chocolate, and it's time for Dementors and chocolate. Tell me what you didn't like in this chapter. Who was
Okay.
your Ted Cruz?
So, my Dementor for this chapter was the complete inconsistency of Hermione saying in this chapter that she's never performed a memory charm, but quote unquote understands a theory. Yet, not 3 chapters ago, specifically said, and I quote, she modified her parents' memories. I looked back 3 chapters ago at The Ghoul in the Pajamas, chapter 6, and she literally says that she modified her parents' memories. And then in this chapter, when they're standing over Dolohov, I think it's Dolohov, and Ron they're like, oh, talking about, oh, we should like erase their memories and like blah blah blah. Ron goes, I've never used a memory charm, or I've never performed a memory charm. And Hermione goes, me neither, but I understand the theory. And I'm like, me neither, girl. What about your parents?
Maybe she performed one on herself between chapter
I mean,
6 and
like,
chapter 9.
I mean, obviously, like, I cannot imagine it would be a different spell. I think it would be a different level or like a different version of the same like magical theory. Like
Okay,
Obliviate is, they specifically use Obliviate in this chapter, which we know
okay.
is like what Gilderoy Lockhart used. But like, come on.
All right, do you want to, like, hear what my theory to as to what happened in the drafting process? Like a BTS on, like, their drafting process of this novel?
Sure.
I think that the author wrote, like, this chapter, like, as it is,
Mhm.
and chapter 6 had no mention as to what Hermione did with her parents. It was only about the ghoul in pajamas and all about Ron and whatever. And then an editor probably was like, hey, author, great contingency plan for Ron, but doesn't Hermione also have family that
Yeah.
she has to take care of?
Always forgetting about
And
the Grangers.
yeah, and, like, the author's like, "Oh, the dentist? I gotcha," and, like, wrote that, like, blink and you'll miss it paragraph that we complained about the entirety of chapter 6,
Yeah. Well,
and was like, "I got it. I did it," and, like, the editor was like, "Cool, cool, cool, we're on deadline. This is, like, the
I
biggest
mean,
fucking book launch ever, right?
yeah. I
Let's go
mean,
to press."
talk about invisible labor, right? Like she did all this fucking work to make sure that her parents were safe, and then it literally is like it literally like is pretended like it never happened in 3 chapters from then. Because she doesn't know how to modify memories anymore. Like
Well,
like you said, she must have performed this fucking charm on herself.
yeah.
Because how could she fucking forget?
So it's either of those things. Either the author wrote chapter 9, like wrote the entire book
Yeah.
and was like taking comments from her editor and was like, "Oh shit, I forgot to like address the dentist. Cool, cool, cool. I got it." And wrote like that little measly paragraph on chapter 6 and no one cross-checked it because they had a deadline. This was the most anticipated book of the like century or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Gotta get it out.
Yeah, I read that and I was like, what the fuck? Yeah, that pissed me off because yeah, it was stupid. Anyway, like, I'm I'm mad about it still. What was your Dementor?
My Dementor was not inconsistency whatsoever, but it was related to Hermione. It was something about like the image of Hermione crouching and like having basically a panic attack upon seeing the specter of like Dumbledore just really affected me this time.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why. It just did. And I just didn't like it. And that's why it's my Dementor.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna go back and reread that part because that part didn't stick in my mind as much. So I'll have to go back and
Yeah, it
reread it.
hasn't until literally this reread.
Hey, that's been happening. That happens when I've been rereading these books. I'm like, wow, this hit different, you know?
And I was like, what? Like, because when you think about Hermione, you don't think like,
Yeah,
shaking
yeah,
and
she's always put together, right? She's
yeah.
got her shit together for sure.
So like for it to affect her that way, then it must have been quite the sight.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah. But before we get to our chocolates, do you have any chocolate recommendations for our listeners?
Yeah, I rediscovered the wonderfulness that is those cookie dough bites that like the chocolate
Oh,
covered cookie dough bites that you can buy
at the
at the
movie
movie
theater?
theater. Yes.
Yes.
And I had them once a few weeks ago, maybe a few months ago, honestly, and I was like, "Oh, I forgot how fucking good these were." And then I looked for them for like months, I think, trying to find some to buy for myself, and I found them the other day for the first time. Like they'd been like out at every freaking grocery store. All the times I bought groceries the last few months, like I couldn't find them. Found them like yesterday or 2 days ago, I can't remember. And yeah, I consumed the whole box in like a sitting and a half. And I was like, why didn't I buy more than one box? That
I
Pascaline
always
was bad.
I always find them at Walgreens. I don't know if that's
Yeah, I
helpful.
mean, like, yeah, the one I found them at CVS this time, but like
Okay.
they have a boxed candy aisle in almost every single grocery store. Also, why do they only sell them in the little boxes? Like, sell a big, like, 2 pound bag, you cowards.
Sell a cereal box, you cowards.
I would literally buy a 2 pound freaking bag of these cookie dough covered, chocolate covered bites. I swear to God. Like, they're so good. So that's my recommendation.
I see your chocolate covered cookie dough bites, and I raise you Ben and Jerry's
Oh,
half baked,
ooh. Yeah, that's a good one.
only the cookie dough and the brownie bites
Yep. Oh, just by
in the
themselves. Yeah,
yes,
yes. I
in the
haven't.
frozen aisle. It
Those are
is
good.
amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
You just like put some whipped cream and
Yeah.
like put those on top of the whipped cream. Chef's
Ooh.
kiss.
Yeah. Speaking of Ben and Jerry's, I can't recommend it yet because I haven't tried it, but I'm sure it will be divine. I bought a pint of a new flavor that I hadn't tried yet called Mint Chocolate Chance, I think. And it's like Chance the Rapper, I think, is the one that like it's his face on it.
Is it
Um,
like Thin Mints?
no, well, sort of. It's mint ice cream with brownie and like fudge. Yeah. I was like, this
Hmm.
sounds delicious. So I'm going to go for it. I haven't opened it or tried it yet, but I'm very excited to try it.
Please let me know.
If like once I do try it, I'm sure it will be my chocolate recommendation of the
Of next
episode.
week.
Yes, exactly.
All right. So, but what is your actual in text chocolate?
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit difficult because obviously this wasn't a super cheery chapter in general, but I did get a slight giggle from none other than Ron, surprisingly. Um, when he referred to that like ghost like Dumbledore curse thingy, when they walk into Grimmauld Place, he refers to him as Dusty. Um, he's like something about, oh yeah, like
Old
some
Dusty over
old,
there.
yeah, old Dusty over there. Yeah, exactly. I couldn't remember what the context was, but he's like, yeah, something about old Dusty over there, and I was like, Dusty. So that was like the thing that I was like, oh, that's cute. That was funny.
Mine is a little bit more heartwarming. Mine is that moment where, the Patronus comes in and says, "Family safe, do not reply, we're being watched." It
Yeah,
says, "The Patronus dissolved into nothingness. Ron let out a noise between a whimper and a groan and dropped onto the sofa.
yeah.
Hermione joined him, gripping his arm. They're all right, she whispered, and Ron half laughed and hugged her.
Yeah, I can like just even though it wasn't in the movie, I can so clearly see that moment
Rupert
of
Grint do
him.
it.
Yeah, I can just so clearly see him doing the sigh between a whimper and a groan and just falling onto the sofa. Like I can totally see it.
Yeah, me too. That's it for Dementors and chocolate. Well, every week we ask our listeners a question, and last week we asked the following: What is a costume? Costume. Oh my god, it's not even October yet.
What is your
Calm
Halloween
down.
costume? No, just kidding.
All right, that was not the question, guys. The question was, what's a custom that's unique to you or your family?
Now, you guys didn't really jump on this question. I posted it a day late, so we got like a day less of like worth of answers. We did get one answer from the ever reliable and amazing Jeff, aka Dream Quaffle, on Instagram. Love you, Jeff. Thank you so much for always giving us great answers. I'm just gonna check one more time to make sure that we didn't get any since I last checked this afternoon. No, okay. I'm gonna read Jeff's though because it's cute. Whenever someone close to me has a new baby, I always like to get them a teddy bear. When I was little, my teddy bear Gordon was my favorite. I like to think that at least one of those kids out there will grow up and say that the first bear they ever got was their favorite.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Yeah, isn't that cute? It was really cute. I liked it a lot.
Olivia doesn't have a teddy bear that she loves. She has a teddy bear that my mom got her.
Right.
Not her favorite though. What she loves is an elephant that my sister-in-law got her.
Aww.
And my
What's its name?
sister-in-law, we have no idea yet. She hasn't named it yet.
Oh, okay.
My sister-in-law loves elephants. So she got
Aww.
her like this elephant that winds up and has like a lullaby, and she goes nuts over it.
Oh, cute. I had my very first bear that I ever remember being my favorite was literally like a bear that was bigger than me. It was like, I mean, as an adult, it was not that big of a bear, but for like a child, it was quite large. Like I could literally like spoon it in bed, like it was that big. And I honestly don't remember what I named it. I think it was just Bear, to be honest. Um, and I remember being like really flat. But then but after that though, I did get my parents took me to the Star Trek exhibition, I believe in Las Vegas. My whole family are huge Trekkies.
Okay,
And
okay. This
they
is
took
not something I knew about your family customs.
yes, I am not a huge Trekkie. I have seen more Star Trek than like the normal casual like fan, I guess. Just because my whole like literally including my mom, who is not like she's not a fan of things. She doesn't like she'll watch a movie once and will never rewatch it again. Like she's that kind of person. And she's like fucking obsessed with Star Trek. Like she loves Star Trek Discovery. Anyway, all my sister, my dad, my mom, they all obsessed with it. So they took me to the Star Trek exhibition when I was very young, probably like 7 or 8, and I got this little bear, tiny little bear in a Voyager uniform from the show
Mhm.
Voyager. So a little Starfleet uniform with his little pin and it was just a little black with like it was so cute. And I just named him Voyager, and he was my fave for a very, very long time, even though I wasn't a huge Star Trek. Obviously, I was very young, so like I didn't know much about Star Trek. Uh, but yeah, it was a Star Trek bear.
Oh, that's cute. I mean, unrelated but kind of related. I can't wait until I can like Livia's conscious enough of her surroundings, right?
To
And
put your
can make
fandoms on her.
decisions. No, not just that, obviously that, but not just that, but take her to Build a Bear.
Mm, I love Build a Bear. I have a Build a Bear right now that I love. Yes, I'm a
What?
29-year-old woman and I have a Build a Bear.
I
Don't
want to
judge
build
me.
a bear. Like this is the thing. Like I told my mom, like I can't wait until she's old enough so I can take her, and
Well,
I
come to
can
the Mall of
also make
America.
myself. Well,
Come to
there's
the
one here.
Oh, well, there's a very large one at the Mall of America that I walk by every time I go and I'm like, I want to go in there and make one. They're
Well,
so expensive though.
maybe. I know they're expensive. That's why I am waiting until she's conscious enough so that it's a
Yes.
memory.
My
You know.
current Build a Bear that I have, I made in Florida at there's in Disney Springs, they have like a dinosaur restaurant. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about,
I
but
think so.
in Orlando, and inside the dinosaur restaurant, they have like a dinosaur gift shop, and in the very back corner of the dinosaur gift shop, they have a dinosaur themed Build a Bear. Like
Okay.
it's a legit Build a Bear like franchise. Like it's actually Build a Bear, but it's like all like they have dinosaur themed like bears and stuff. I have there, so it's like it's not just dinosaurs. There's like prehistoric animals and stuff like that. So there's like a woolly mammoth and a saber tooth tiger and all that. And I have a sloth because sloths are my favorite animals, and they had a sloth there, and I died.
And you were like, I gotta get it. Like,
Yeah,
there's no other option. Okay.
so that is my favorite current quote unquote bear. It's a sloth, but
It's
semantics,
stuffed animal.
right?
So yeah. That's I'm just waiting for her to be like, I don't know, 1 years old, 2 years old, you know?
Yes, yeah. She has to
And
at least be old enough to like do the thing where they make you like kiss the heart and stuff,
yeah, exactly.
right?
And also, I she goes and gets one, and I may have to go
I
get
mean,
one because, mom things.
that's like a huge part of being a parent, right? Like you go and take your kids to do stuff that you actually want to do, but you have an excuse to socially do them, like socially
Like
acceptable
socially
excuse.
acceptable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
You're like, "Oh, I'm taking my kid, but it's actually for me."
Yeah, like Legoland. This is a trip that I'm gonna take because I want to do it, but now I
Exactly.
have a kid and it looks
Also,
acceptable.
another reason for you to come to the Mall of America because there's a huge Lego store right in the middle with a bunch of huge sculptures in the middle of the Mall of America made out of Legos.
All right, so what I'm thinking is I have to plan my Mall of America trip.
I mean, yeah, yes, for many reasons. But
All
yes.
right. Okay, so we need to talk about this offline, but yes. All right, listeners, for this week, we've got a question for you that is more like give us your recommendations. um, give us all your book recs. What is a book or book series that you took refuge in or still take refuge in other than the Harry Potter series?
Yeah, definitely excited to hear what people have to say for this one. I can't wait to, and maybe I'll get my next read, my next thing on the list.
Your next non Bridgerton read?
Yeah, I mean, I still have a few Bridgerton books to get through until I'm in that point, but yes, definitely.
I mean, you can like sprinkle them throughout, like one this, one Bridgerton, you know?
Yeah, definitely. That's a nice thing about Bridgerton, the fact that, they're they're very much their own like self-contained stories.
So it's not like you gotta like, concentrate so much on, I can't forget what happened last book, you know?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait for season 3, even though they're skipping, one
That-
love story.
Yeah, I'm very excited for season 3.
Yeah, there's some behind the scenes photos that I sent you.
Yes.
And I was like,
Yes.
look at Colin and Penelope
They're going to be so cute.
in normal clothes. And like the height differential is amazing. I
Oh,
love it.
yeah. Yeah, it's going to be a great season.
Oh, I love it. and she's so cool, and he's so cute, and they only did face tan on his face.
Yeah, that was weird.
Just some stutter on his face. Well, because he's covered everywhere else.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I was like, well, in Bridgerton, like you wouldn't see anything else other than his like hands. So
Yeah, basically that. That's it. Just face and hands. Everything else is covered.
yeah, that's the Regency
Oh,
era for you.
but they're still so hot, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-mm-mm.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, speaking of things that are hot, let's talk about the media we've been consuming. Helene, what has been keeping you afloat?
I honestly don't think I've had time to do anything except for watch Gilmore. Or no, I keep on calling it Gilmore Girls, Golden Girls. I've done that so many times. I've called it Gilmore Girls more often than not. It is Golden Girls. I am still watching that show. I think I'm still in like season 2, maybe beginning of season 3. I've lost count. Um, but it is, it's a nice like light watch while I'm like eating dinner, or it's a fun one. So I haven't really done much else other than work. It's been really busy at work, so that's about it.
I mean, same. Not necessarily media that I've been consuming other than, well, I guess this is media. I bit the bullet and got a Sirius XM subscription again so I could like keep current instead of listening to pop from the early aughts.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I'm just like, oh, what are the youths listening to right now? I need to know, kind of thing. So okay, fine, I'll get a Sirius XM subscription.
Okay.
So I did that, and I listened to that all the way to Grapevine, Texas, while Seth drove because we did a train tour. It was like 45 minutes on a train. It wasn't that long, but there was like a highway robber in the middle of it. It was aimed at families and stuff. So it was
Wow.
cute. It was cute. Seth was really, really excited because he loves trains. So like this was more for him than anyone else.
Oh my god. Yeah, that sounds like fun. Any new artists or songs that you're obsessed with now because of it?
Um, I think it's like a song that might be popular on TikTok right now. It's like the tiniest violin. I think it's called. It's amazing.
I thought you were gonna say the corn song.
Oh no, no, not
It's
that.
corn. It
No,
has the
thank you.
juice.
Yeah, no, thank you. I am familiar with that song, but no, thank you.
It's funny.
Well, but weren't you telling me off mic like you were playing with your sister like
Oh
this
yeah. I
game?
mean,
Yeah, there you go.
it's not new though. Yeah, Overcooked. It was like a new pack, I guess, that we hadn't played yet. But yes, Overcooked is a very fun game. I played with my sister. It was my birthday yesterday, listeners. If you haven't
And
wished
I
me birthday
completely
yet,
forgot.
yeah.
Yeah,
If you
so
haven't wished me happy birthday yet, listeners, what are you waiting for? I'm right here. It's fine. Um, but yes, I am officially 29 years old. Last year of my 20s, and my sister, who lives in a different state, still wanted to spend my birthday with me. So after we got off work, we played like online video games and talked while we played. So that was fun. Um, and one of the games was Overcooked, which, if you have not played, is a very fun game. Uh, I highly recommend it.
and it was perfect because you played the birthday pack.
Yes, it was a birthday party pack, which was very fun. You can make like tea and cake, and it was cute. And that like there was like a rendition of Happy Birthday playing in the background during the levels. I was like, oh, this is cute.
Yay, Helene.
Yay!
Well, that being said, Helene is 4 years too old for Leo DiCaprio. And that's it for today's episode. Please join us next time as we talk about Chapter 10 of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, Creature's Tale.
We really went full circle. Leo at
Yeah.
the beginning, Leo at the end. It all came back around.
I mean, I had to restrain myself from making references to Titanic 1,000 times. So
Exactly. Well, if
even that,
you
go ahead.
well, if you've enjoyed this conversation about Leo and obviously some other things that we talked about, please take a second to give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or wherever you happen to be listening to us right now, because It helps our algorithm. It helps new listeners discover the podcast, and it helps our mental health. And we would just really like it. So thank you.
You know what else it helps?
What?
It helps our hearts go on. You're welcome. Until then, politics managed. Support this show by going to patreon.com/Occhiopolitics. Our patrons keep this show going. You can find us online at Occhiopolitics.com, and we are at Occhiopolitics on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You can email us your thoughts at info@Occhiopolitics.com. Leave us a voicemail at 915-996-1699, and you might just hear yourself on the podcast. Adriana Wilson is the founder and creative director of the podcast. Helene Karp is the producer and social media manager. Allison Pullman is the audio wizard and editor who makes us sound so good. Cover art and physical rewards are designed by Adriana Wilson. The views expressed by the hosts and guests are expressly their own and not representative of their employers or associates. Occhiopolitics is part of the MuggleNet family of podcasts.